Hello and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and today, well, this is the opposite to the video I put out yesterday. These are the top 5 things that I like about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Now, let me know down in the comments what are the things that you really like about the sim. Also, if you're new, remember, go ahead and subscribe. It costs nothing at all except a little bit of self-respect. Smash the like button, but with all that said, everybody, let's get into it. Okay, the first thing that I really like about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 is the flight planning tool. The reason I like it is because it's really simple to use, but it's quite flexible. So you can use it as a really basic flight plan, or you can put in all the different departure and arrival, the SIDs, the stars, the waypoints, the whole lot. And what it will do is if you're flying one of the larger aircraft, it will automatically upload it into your FMS if you want it to. Otherwise, when you jump into the aircraft, you can put it in by hand as normal, the manual way, if you want to have a little bit more immersion. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility there. But let me just show you sort of what I like about this. For example, let's say I set up a flight here from NZDN, which is Dunedin in New Zealand, up to Auckland. And this was exactly the first flight that I set up actually in Flight Sim using this tool. So for example, if this was a small general aviation aircraft, it's a long flight, but you could just do VFR direct GPS, go press fly, and it will load it into your GPS and away you go. But if you've got a more of a detailed flight that perhaps you've developed on SimBrief or something like that, you can just go ahead and select, let's see, high altitude airways. Boom, and it's put a plan in place for me right there. So if that suits you, that's great. If you need to change a waypoint, you just click on it and you can go remove, and then you could say, for example, put in, this isn't the right waypoint, but I could put in Davy. I could go Davy, click on that, and I could go add right there, and it would add Davy as a waypoint. I'm not going to do that because that's not what's happening in this flight plan. So it's easy to remove waypoints and add them back in. You can easily set where you're starting. So let's say I start here on, let's say gate number 1, for example, and you can automatically select your SID. I think the one was by 2R. Let's say I'm going to go 03. I wouldn't go 03 because this, oh yeah, actually 319, yeah, the 03 runway, it would be completely fine. In Auckland, I can say, hey, I want the, let's say the Davy 6A, for example. You put your star in there, and then I want an ILS into runway 23. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I've set up my flight. There's my flight plan just like that. It shows my departure here out of Dunedin. We work up through the South Island, and then obviously we work in to Auckland, join the star right there, the Dave 6A star, and then into runway 23L for a ILS approach. So yeah, really nice and easy. I like it. The other thing is you press L and it brings up a legend, tells you what all the different things mean. You can see that anything with a star on it means a detailed airport, so that's nice and easy. And you can also load and save your flight plans in here if you want to. So yeah, I think this is really well put together. Just a little bit of a pro tip right here. If you are flying the bigger aircraft, you need to go into the weight and balance here. It's good to adjust all your fuel weights here, but this is where you find your center of gravity. And I'm not sure whether you can actually go back out of your aircraft easily and get that number. So check it before you go in just to be safe. Someone can correct me on that. But the first thing I really like, everybody, is the flight planning tool. I think they've done a great job. Okay, the second thing I really like about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 is the checklist system. Now, we do have pretty simple aircraft, so the actual checklists aren't that involved, but the options you have to run through the checklist I think are really clever. So really, you can push all the buttons yourself and just follow the checklist manually, or you can use the checklist to show you where the buttons are. Or you can get the AI pilot to go through the checklist. And I really like having those options. And it really depends on how you feel at the time or how experienced you are in an aircraft. So for example, battery switches, I could just go, hey, I know where those are. Boom, away we go. And put them on right here. Boom, boom. Or I could say, show me where they are. And you press on the eye and then I can turn on both the batteries. How cool is that? Let's do the same for external power. Show me where to go for that. and once again it shows me where it is. Now if you already know where those buttons are, then of course you can just go and go through them, and you just as you do it, you just press evaluation. It gives it a tick if it's been done. Let's just wait for that to come on. Next one, and it's evaluated and it's come on too. So I really like how it prompts you and shows you where you need to go next. Let's just pause that. It's going through an auto sort of doing it at the moment. So the other option though that you have is you could say, hey, this item here, let's just complete that item. Oh, it's already been completed, so let's actually choose one that hasn't. So I could say engine, bleed air switches, auto complete item, and it will go ahead, and I think you might have heard the co-pilot right there talk about that, and it is done. There we go. They can do the checklist for you. So if you are learning an aircraft, perhaps you want to get the autopilot to run through all the different components, and then you get a feel for where you need to look when you want to do it yourself. Obviously the third option, you could just jump in the aircraft, and of course you could press Control E to start up the engine and everything will happen, great. Or you could just go auto-complete page for before starting the engine, and everything on this particular checklist will be completed by the co-pilot or the AI pilot. And I just really like that. I think it's a great learning tool, but still gives you the flexibility that if you are more experienced with the systems and you want to just use a checklist just to make sure that you're following everything properly, it gives you that flexibility to to do whatever you want. So once again, well done to the development team on that. I think it's a great initiative. Okay, while we're on the ground here in Dunedin in New Zealand, it's a good time to talk about the third thing that I really like about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and that's the weather. And this really gives you a good representation right here of a sort of a low cloud, foggy type layer that's going on. And the thing I love about this is just how smooth the transition is when you're traveling through this low cloud. You don't get the blocky sort of images that you have in simulators of the past. It's very, very smooth and very natural. And as you can see, the visual representation of this foggy day is fantastic, with the light source coming from the sun in that direction. And looking around, it absolutely captures the look and feel of a really dense, foggy day wherever you might be. Also with the weather, it's got a tremendous number of options to really set up the weather any way you like. So at the moment I'm on live weather, but I could just go ahead and press clear skies as a preset. I mean, anyone who's flown FSX or any of the other sims will remember these sorts of settings. I could do overcast once again. You can't see out the window, so that doesn't help. I'll go out in a minute. Or I could go rain. So there we go, and yeah, that's another really cool thing. It's just those rain effects on the windows there of the aircraft, which is really, really nice. You have the the opportunity right here that perhaps you want to practice your crosswind landings. You can ramp up the wind. You could change it so the weather's really dicey, or if you're just learning, you can put it to clear skies no matter what's happening in the real world. And also go ahead, and this is something that definitely happens down south, down in Dunedin there, you can throw some snow onto the ground, which is represented really well there. And here I am on a little bit of a windy departure here out of Dunedin, and as expected, you're getting those forces on the aircraft that you definitely expect from a bit of a windy day, depending on obviously where that wind layer is. But I can certainly feel the aircraft floating and ballooning where appropriate. Also, when you're coming into land, you've got a strong crosswind. You obviously feel that crabbing or the requirement to crab into the runway before straightening up. But here's me. I've got nothing, no hands on the controls right here, and you can see it sort of bouncing around as you would expect. So that's been modeled really well. So yep, the weather's definitely a huge aspect of this game. It looks fantastic. It's modeled really well. I'm going to have to do a lot more flying just to really check out the all the different options when it comes to weather. But yeah, so far so good. Okay, everybody, the next thing I really like about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 is the drone camera, and here I am in it right here. Now, a warning, it does take a little bit to get this thing sorted, but if you've got an Xbox controller, once you're got it all set up and learn the controls, it's actually really easy to use and really easy to get your camera in the position that you want it. And as you can see here, we're down in Te Anau in New Zealand, and beautiful scenery right here. But the drone camera has a number of features that really help you put together some stunning screenshots. I'm not the most creative, it would be fair to say, so you guys could probably do better. You might want to blur it out from this angle, so boom, there I go. That's a little bit better. You can see, actually I have to hold it down, do I? See, I'm not an expert. But anyway, you can blur out the background right there, and it really pops out the aircraft. You can go ahead and darken or lighten. The aircraft's flying itself at the moment, by the way. And there we go, I unblurred the background. So a cool thing you can do is you can either track an aircraft and it will just follow that aircraft around, the drone will, or you can actually fly it like I am right now, just as a normal drone. So you can go up and down and all the normal movements, but I'm not constrained by wherever the aircraft's going. So this is a really cool way to explore your local area. And you can speed up the drone, the vertical speed, the rotational speed. You've got a lot of flexibility in what the drone does, and I just think that it's a really cool feature that allows you to easily get out there and take a look at what the sim has to offer from a visual point of view. And speaking of visuals, the number one thing that I want to talk about is how good this game looks, and it's obviously pretty well documented, you know, how good the default scenery is. It's obviously pretty similar. Once you get to high altitudes, it's pretty similar to Ortho for XP. The big difference is I don't need terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of hard drive space to actually have the whole world covered. So the general default scenery is absolutely fantastic, and you also have the detailed airports and also the landmarks, which just add that extra bit of depth and experience to the simulation. The other thing I really like are these water effects, and looking down here, you know, I haven't got these on ultra settings and they still look absolutely fantastic. Really makes the game pop. But obviously visuals got to be the number one, and I think this is one thing they've really delivered on. Look at the light just shining over the top of the mountains here in the distance as the sun disappears behind that mountain range at the end of the day. I've already talked about how good the clouds look, but here's a good representation of that too, and you're getting a good feel for some of that satellite imagery below right there. It's a beautiful part of the world here anyway, but oh, this really pops right here. Look at these clouds and the light. Unbelievable. And for someone like me, while in recent times I've definitely got into a lot more of airliner type flights and trying to get my head into that, historically I really do general aviation VFR flying has been something that I've done a lot of, and so to be able to fly low and slow and get this sort of this sort of scenery is just absolutely brilliant. So if you haven't had a chance, by the way, to get down to New Zealand in the simulator, go down and check it out. This is Te Anau right here, and you know, at this time of night, wow, it's just absolutely sensational. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. There goes 5 things that I like about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are new, and until next time everybody, take it easy.